So I created this slide that I put here, that these are some of the use cases that people in general, organizations and governments are going to discover for ETC, that they're going to find that it is the best for these things, and that the others are not so good for that, like the proof of stake chains, which are less secure. And developers, when they see this in the market, they're going to start building applications and decentralized applications in a layered way. No, they may start in a layer 3 scalability system, and then go to Cardano or Ethereum 2.0 or DOT, and then end up using Bitcoin and ETC at the base layer. In the future, dApps are going to be more complex, and they're going to use these kinds of organizations to provide the most performance, but at the same time security to their users. So I always recommend the ETC Army to one, tell individuals and families to invest in ETC. Well, this is just for the long-term investment purpose and for financial planning. I think that families should have some of their wealth in ETC for future life events, to buy a house in the future, to save for college education for the kids, for retirement, or even for inheritance for the next generation. I tell the ETC Army to promote ETC to proof of stake blockchains for anchoring and monetary services. This is important because today the market sees all the chains as the same. Bitcoin and Cardano and Ethereum 2.0, which will be proof of stake, or DOT or Litecoin or BCH or ETC, they all see it as the same, competing for the same segments, the same market. So they see it just as a race, who is going to win. The reality is that that's not the case. Few are going to compete in a certain segment, which I call the base layer, and I think that Bitcoin and ETC are going to win there. Others are going to compete in layer 2, which is for more performance, less security but more performance, and I think those are the proof of stake chains, and I see there at least Ethereum 2.0 winning, and then you have Cardano, DOT, EOS, Tezos that are competitors, and I don't know how the others are going to fare. And then you have layer 3 system like Polygon and Matic Polygon Matic that they try to provide even higher performance on a per second basis to layer 2, and another layer 3 system is Chainlink that provides information, to introduce information into blockchains, so the blockchains are aware of what's happening in the world. That technology is called oracles. So the ETC Army should go to those systems and start already to make them understand your system should be anchored on ETC for security. Your system should be anchored on ETC for sound monetary policy and things like that. So they go understanding, the developers of those systems, of these dynamics. Tell layer 3, layer 4 systems to use ETC as a settlements layer. Well, that's what I just said. Convince governments to use ETC for treasury reserves and large payments. So governments, central banks, supranational organizations, corporations, in the future they're already using Bitcoin as the most famous and the most secure one. But in the future they're all going to use Ethereum Classic as well, because it's going to be the second most secure one at the base layer. And it's going to be programmable, which is something that is absolutely different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not programmable at the base layer. So Ethereum Classic with Bitcoin are going to have so many use cases that developers are going to start seeing this, and all of these segments are going to start using those applications that those developers built. Multinational corporations. This is another thing. Corporations today, large corporations have production in many places of the world, have providers in many places of the world, and have distribution channels and systems in many places of the world, and customers in many places. So their full life cycle, their full distribution, like value chain cycles, which have many steps and are very complex, are going to be operated through smart contracts at the base layer that will move large amounts of money in few transactions, but according to certain conditions. A simple example that I always give: if someone sells, let's say, $10 million of a product to a multinational corporation in another country, they can create a smart contract for that transaction. Normally, the product it takes some time to produce, then to put in a ship it, reach the other port, and then reach the deposit or warehouse of the customer. When each of those steps, the smart contract is going to be able to see it, and is going to go releasing the cash to the seller from the buyer as the steps go occurring, and according to the agreement between the buyer and the seller. So for example, when the boat reaches the port on the destination, that information is going to be sent to the smart contract. The smart contract is going to release X amount of money to the seller and stuff like that. And like that, many complex transactions in many industries, in many parts of the world. And the last that I put here, show teams and small businesses that ETC is good to manage their capital, shareholder registries, and high value dApps and services. So for example, small businesses that have 50, 100, 1,000 employees, first, the business itself, the organization, is going to be on the blockchain. The corporation, even though it could be under the law of Delaware or a specific state or a specific country, but the operation of that organization is not going to be manual anymore. It's going to be a smart contract, likely on ETC, because these are high value, digamos, kinds of things that people want to keep very secure, like people keep in a vault their corporate papers and all that, and their board meetings and minutes and all that. They keep them in secure places. Well, now the blockchain is going to be that secure place, and the shares are going to be on the blockchain. So if a small business has 2 owners, for example, 50% is going to be tokens of that corporation on ETC for one owner, 50% is going to be tokens for the other owner, and the capital is going to be in that smart contract, and all the board decisions are going to be sent to that smart contract, and any sale of shares is going to be a transaction in ETC. So this is what I hold. And then the registry, what I just said, if it's a larger corporation and it's public and it has thousands of shareholders and they trade in a decentralized exchange, even that decentralized exchange can be in a layer 2 system like Ethereum 2.0, Cardano, or DOT. But when at a certain time, when after all the trades are done, the final settlement can go to a registry in ETC and change the ownership of the shares. And to use high value dApps. Well, as many people are going to build, many developers are going to build high value dApps on ETC, or dApps that run in other systems, but in the end settle in ETC. Small businesses as well are going to use these dApps, for example, for managing the value chain, for contracts between providers and the company, or between the company and their clients, and stuff like that.